Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, December 9th, 2020, and today we're going to be talking about the tremendous amount of money in both of these Georgia Senate elections that are set to occur on January 5th, 2021. So the reason why this is so important is because this race is actually shaping up to be, and currently is, the third most expensive Senate race in United States history. I guess Senate races, the most money funneled into one state in particular for a Senate race. Now, I know it sounds a little bit like we're cheating in terms of the amount of money being spent in both of these races. And yes, I am going to combine them because the election is held on the same day. It's a Republican versus a Democrat. And ultimately, it will determine who holds Senate control. So you can imagine why this state in particular is receiving so much attention. When we're looking at the runoff elections, you can see on your screen that the Democratic Party would have the majority with this map. But this map only occurs if the Democrats win both Georgia runoff seats. If the Republicans win them, or just win one of them, it's back to a simple old Republican majority under Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Now, the Democratic Party is hopeful, and with that hope comes a lot of money being funded directly into these races. You know, combined, Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff have raised over $100 million, and Kelley Loeffler and David Perdue's numbers bring the total to $167 million just from November 4th through November 23rd. If we were to add in all of the money raised during the regular campaign season, you would see that these races are a lot more expensive than what we were used to. But you also would have to add in some of the money spent on other Republicans and other Democrats in the special election with Raphael Warnock. But looking at this money from November 4th through the 23rd, and keep in mind we're hitting mid-December in just around a week, and there's still a long way to go, still around a month until the election occurs. This is shaping up to be probably the two most expensive Senate races in United States history, and if we were to combine them and treat it as one Senate race or one state in particular, which it is, this would be the third most expensive Senate race in United States history today. On top of that, we could see the possibility of it surpassing the South Carolina Senate race, which was actually the most expensive Senate race in United States history, if we were just to, not adjust for historical inflation. But looking at the most expensive Senate races in United States history, we have the Arizona Senate race, the special election. We have the South Carolina Senate race, in which both candidates raised over $100 million. That's insane. That is insane. But looking at these, Georgia races, it's not on here yet because this is technically a 2021 Senate race. This is a special election that should take effect for 2022. But, looking at this map, this is going to decide Senate control. And there's a reason why Democrats and Republicans are funneling millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in these Senate races. But let's talk about where the money's coming from. Well, first things first. Warnock and Ossoff both received around, a lot of money around this sort of period of time, right before October, this bump. I guess you could say mid to end of September. And the Republicans did not enjoy this bump. In fact, throughout the entire campaign season, the Republican Party consistently underperformed them in terms of fundraising efforts. Now, that's because the Democratic Party did exceptional in terms of fundraising this year, but it wasn't always, directly impacting the outcome of the election results. The Democratic Party raised a lot of money. They raised a lot of money, and they didn't win most of those Senate races. There was over $100 million spent in Kentucky, over $100 million spent in South Carolina. Both of those races lost by nearly double digits in South Carolina, by double digits in Kentucky. In fact, South Carolina might have been double digits. I believe it was just narrowly up there, 9-point-something%. But if you're looking at all these expensive races, the Maine Senate race, Sarah Gideon raised a lot of money. She did not win that race. Michigan was exceptionally close. Iowa was not won by the Democrats. Joni Ernst won by a pretty significant amount. Montana Senate won by the Republican by 10 points. Colorado was a win for Democrats, but that was expected. Arizona was a win for Democrats. So we have two out of, the top. Michigan was a win, but they were the incumbent party, so that shouldn't have changed. North Carolina, $79 million across both sides just to have the same exact election result as 6 years ago. Texas, nothing changed. So looking at a lot of the money spent here, you may not think that the money will directly translate into an election win, but this is a state that we're seeing all eyes on. And the fact that Joe Biden actually won the state of Georgia makes the stakes that much higher for the Democratic Party. Because Georgia was never supposed to be the state that ultimately decided the balance of power in the United States Senate. Nobody was really counting on David Perdue's seat going into a runoff election. It was technically possible, but a lot of the analysts had said that David Perdue was going to win, and that it was just going to be Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock in a runoff election. But it actually ended up to a point where Jon Ossoff was able to take down David Perdue. Now, if we were working in a regular election, and I say that because Georgia has a runoff rule where if no candidate receives 50% or more of the vote on election day, that it heads off into a runoff election. But if you're looking at the Georgia races, the Democratic was able to bring down David Perdue from 50.3%, I think, to 49.7%. And that's what's triggering the runoff election. Jon Ossoff only received 47.9% of the vote, so he ran behind David Perdue by roughly 1.8%. That is super significant. Joe Biden only won the state by 0.3%. Now, Raphael Warnock, combined with other Democrats, received, I believe, 48.4% of the vote. So that's a 0.5% improvement. But the Republican Party still ran ahead by around a point. I believe they received 49.4%. So it was still an underperformance of David Perdue, but a slight outperformance of Donald Trump, but still better than the Democratic Party. And I think that's a testament to the state of Georgia itself. And when we're looking at where the money actually comes from, unfortunately for the Democrats, the Republican Party is receiving more money from Georgia than the Democratic Party is. But the Democratic Party is raising a lot more money, which still means that they can spend it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're receiving that much support from people in the state of Georgia. On your screen is a little map, I guess, a chart showing you where all of the money is coming from. And the biggest states are very liberal states. We see California, New York, Massachusetts, Washington, and then some larger states in terms of population, which means, of course, you're going to find plenty of wealthy Democrats, or just a lot of Democrats, regional too, Texas, Florida, a lot of these Democrats that are in very populous states, which is why you'd see more money coming from California, which is the most populous state, versus Rhode Island, which is smallest land-wise. So looking at the state of Georgia, a lot of money from outside sources, not a lot from inside. But the same can be said for the GOP. While they narrowly outperformed the Democratic Party, they're still getting a lot of their money from the same sources. California is number 1, Texas number 2, Florida number 3, New York number 4. New York is by no means a Republican state, but again, very populous state. As a result, is going to have some Republicans, at least, that are going to be able to donate money here. So a lot of money spent from outside sources into this Georgia Win Red fund versus the Act Blue fund. So a lot of outside money. While the Republicans may be narrowly ahead in terms of internal money from the state, still, most of the money, 80% of it is coming from out-of-state donors. 80% of it. The Democratic Party obviously leading the way, though. They are doing very, very well. You can see Loeffler and Perdue, Warnock and Ossoff all received spikes following the election because they needed that money. God knows they needed that money. All 4 candidates, they all need the money. But the Democrats have consistently done better. But we will see on January 5th whether or not this money is just going to be wasted. Because the Democratic Party spent a lot of money on races that they did not win. And nobody knew that they weren't going to win except for maybe Kentucky. I think that was probably one of the biggest money wasters of this entire election cycle. $94 million for someone who lost by 15 points. So, not to say anything about Amy McGrath. I think she was individually a strong candidate. It was just not her year, and she should not have ran against Mitch McConnell. I think she would have had a much better chance had she ran for the House of Representatives again, because she came extremely close in 2018. But I think that, nationalizing this Kentucky Senate race, nationalizing a number of these other races did not work because these are traditional Republican states. But I think nationalizing this race actually might help. Because now the Republican Party is the one nationalizing it. They are saying that, the election is rigged down in Georgia. Donald Trump is saying it. Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue aren't refuting those claims. In fact, Loeffler goes as far as to calling on Republicans in the state to resign as a result of the certification. If you saw my video today, you would know that every single state has certified their election results. Republicans in Georgia, some of them, still don't believe that the election results should be certified and believe that there was widespread voter fraud in this state. And that is not a winning message for either Kelly Loeffler or David Perdue. So we actually might be seeing a lot of money funneled into this race as a response of President Trump calling the race rigged in Georgia, because Democrats really do want to, hand him off with 2 defeats before he leaves office. 2 defeats in the United States Senate that would ultimately give the Democrats the balance of power. I mean, can you imagine what this would do? This would have been an election where the Democratic Party lost seats in the House. That didn't go well for them. We didn't win any competitive races in the Senate. Not one. Arizona and Colorado were expected. I guess you could say Arizona, by the eventual margin, was competitive, but it should not have been. All of the rest of the competitive races did not go to the Democrats. If they win these two, it would be that little silver lining that told the Democratic Party, well, maybe, just maybe, they could come out with this and push a more left-wing agenda, because they are going to be throttled by Mitch McConnell if they do not win both of these Senate races. And I think both parties realize how much is at stake, how much is actually going to be impacted, enough so that we're seeing over $100 million funneled into these Senate races. So a lot of money raised, going to be a lot of money spent. November 4th through 23rd, $167 million as a state in the state as a whole. If we're talking about just November 4th onward, just through the 23rd would rank this as the third most expensive Senate race in United States history, the third most expensive Senate race in United States history, if we were to count it as one Senate race. If we're looking at it individually, they still rank up in, top 10, at least top 5 even, for the most expensive Senate races. And we still have over a month from then to go. Well over a month from then. A lot of money is going to be raised for these Senate races, especially as we get closer to Joe Biden's inauguration. So a lot of money is expected to be poured in to these Senate races, even more so than now. But we see the reason why the Democratic Party and the Republican Party see so much at stake, and why out-of-state donors are really driving up the competitive nature of this Senate race. Both parties love to nationalize this race because this was a state that was extremely close on the national level. It's not partisan in one way or another, and they do need to rely on the presidential nominees basis in order to win. But one or two of the candidates from either political party could eventually win. It's very possible we end up with 2 Democrats. It's very possible we end up with 2 Republicans. It's very possible we end up with 1 Democrat, 1 Republican. That would probably be the most 2020 way to end the Georgia runoff elections, but that's entirely possible, and actually maybe one of the most likely scenarios at this point, or if not the likeliest. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my post 2020 election predictions. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.